Sorry to keep you waiting. All right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Cornwall Regional Airport Commission September 7th meeting. Call the meeting to order and welcome everyone that's here. I'll head right on to the approval of the agenda. Are there any deletions, additions, or amendments? Mr. CAO?
Yeah, just through you, Mr. Chair. Because MNP's on, we'll just suggest they go first with new business, and then we'll go back to the airport manager update once you get to that point.
Sure, that makes sense. So all those in favor of accepting the agenda as amended? Is anybody in favor? Everybody in favor of that?
Yeah, you have everybody.
I'm sorry, my internet's not that great right now. All right, so moving on to 3, approval of the minutes of the July 20th meeting. Can I approve it?
Is Martin
moved by Martin? Yeah, moved by Martin, second by Sam. All those in favor of the minutes as presented? It's carried, thank you. All right, so business rising from the minutes. I don't really think there is any, but we'll go right into the next one with MNP. And am I handing that over to you, Tim, to introduce?
Sure, just to begin, I want to thank the staff on both sides from Cornwall, especially South Glengarry. I know Michael and Crystal LeBrun and Michelle have worked closely with providing information to Jamie Pollock from MNP. So Jamie, I'll turn it over to you. I'm not sure if you have any staff with you, but if you do, you could introduce them. If not, do you want control of the to bring up the statements, or do you just want to speak to it?
Hi everybody, hopefully everyone can hear me. I'm hoping to have one of my colleagues with me today. His name is Nakash. I know he was having some trouble connecting as well, so when he comes on, hopefully he will just introduce himself. So he was the audit manager on this audit that helped us, and worked closely with Crystal and Michael and Stephen about this audit. I would like to have control to share some of my screen products that I have, if you don't mind, Tim, please.
Okay, I think you should be able to now.
Okay. Oh, it says the host has disabled the participant from screen sharing.
Okay, that'll have to be Michelle to provide you. I also see, Jamie, that Nakisha's come on.
Okay, that's great. Hi, Nakash.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me and Jamie today, and really appreciate everyone's hard work in getting this audit in its current stage. So really appreciated working with you all and looking forward to chatting today.
Okay, I should be able to share my screen now, and hopefully I get. So does everyone see the Cornwall Regional Airport Commission Inc. front page?
No,
Not yet.
Not yet. Oh, I have to hit this twice.
There we go.
There we go. Just being on vacation for a couple of weeks, I feel very rusty now when it comes to Zoom and Microsoft Teams. So I feel quite rusty, but we'll get back into the swing of things. So just like last time, if there's any questions or concerns, please stop me and I'll be more than happy, or Nakash, to answer your questions. I'm going to go through the statements, show you the changes, kind of remind everyone where we were at. And I have another schedule that I just want to go through with everybody. But like I said, I think it just stop me at any time if anyone have any questions or concerns. And everyone knows who I am. I'm Jamie Pollack, partner with M&P. I'm a CPA, LPA, licensed public accountant, and I'm happy to be here to go through these draft statements again. Just with our independent auditors report, it is for the year December 31st, 2021. And I'll just go through two parts. And this is more of a reminder from last time. In our opinion, except for the possible effects of the matter described in the basis of qualified opinion section of our report, the accompanying financial statements presents fairly in all material respects the financial position of the organization as of December 31st, 2021, and the results of its operations, changes in net financial assets, and its cash flows for the year then ended in accordance with Canadian public sector accounting standards. The next paragraph explains why we have a basis for qualifying opinion, and it's just a matter of timing because the previous financial statements were never audited. So it states, since we were appointed auditors of the organization during 2021, we were not able to observe the accounting of the physical inventories at the beginning of the year or satisfy ourselves concerning those inventory quantities by alternative means. Since the opening inventories affecting determination of the results of operations and the cash flows for the year then ended, we were unable to determine whether any adjustments to the financial performance and cash flows might be necessary for the year ended December 31st, 2021. And because we were appointed auditors early 2022 for 2021, we couldn't count the inventory as of December 31st, 2020 or January 1st, 2021. We were able to go back and count the inventory for December 31st, 2021, but not at the start of the year. And this is a one-time qualification regarding the audit for the operations because of the timing that we couldn't count the inventory back at the start of the year. As we go to the statement of financial position or balance sheet and a comparison of what we were presented before, there is no change to these numbers on the balance sheet. The cash still 72,811, accounts receivable 20,000 and it looks like 77,000. And then there's a big jump of inventory at the end of 2021. And that's the timing of purchases of fuel right before year end. So your total assets is 143,130. Because of the purchase of inventory at the end of the year, your accounts payable is much higher from at the end of 2020 at 55,000 compared to $9,000. The deferred contributions, which is the funds that have been raised and set aside for future operations by both the city and the township, it's 87,481 at year end. So the closing net financial assets is zero. There was an opening net financial assets of 15,310, which was in reserve funds, but that was utilized during the year. Tangible capital assets is 675,922. And this is recorded for accounting purposes. It's recorded at historical costs, less accumulated amortization. It's not the replacement cost for all your assets or the fair market value. It's just what's being actually estimated from previous years, recorded at cost, less accumulated amortization. So your total accumulated surplus is your TCAs at the end of December 31st, 2021. On the statement of financial activities, if we go to the third line from the bottom, you have a net deficit for the year, which is $40,864 compared to $27,021 from the previous year. Now, these are recorded in public sector accounting standards format, and I'm going to share a screen just after this page to kind of make more sense, because when I was going through this schedule this afternoon and preparing for this meeting, if you ask me what's your true operating deficit or surplus, you can't see that very well on this schedule. That 40,864 is actually the same amount from the original draft that we went through back in July. That amount has not changed. What has changed is from the line up under municipal contributions. At the original draft, the city of Cornwall, they provided $103,049. We had $70,000 for South Glengarry, which was an error on the draft financial statements. Your annual contributions for the operations was $20,000. There was $50,000 that was provided for the sale of land, and there was some transfers of land during the year. So that $50,000 is now presented all the way down here under other revenue. And you'll see $50,000, and that's the sale of land from the airport to the municipality. Because of costs recorded at nominal values, you have a gain of $49,998, but then there's $2 for consideration for land going from the municipality over to the airport. So overall, the other revenue is $50,000. So if we go back up, when we make that change, we have a transfer to from contributions, 31,342. That's actually a transfer to deferred contribution, showing an overall surplus for the year of 31,342. But that includes the sale of the land. So if we take that out, you actually have a deficit for the year from operations of 18,658. Total revenues, 326,000 compared to budget of 249. The reason why it's much higher is because of the fuel. Under expenditures, your total expenditures is 417,000 compared to 259. The reasons why it's much higher is that we have unbudgeted amortization expense, which is not a cash item, and fuel costs 140. But if you take the fuel cost of 140 compared to the revenue, the net is 36,000, which makes it higher than your budgeted amount of $30,000. So according to PSAB, you had a net deficit before other revenues of 90,864, plus the sale of land brings you to an overall deficit of 40,864. If you just excuse me, I'm just going to stop sharing and somehow go to another spreadsheet that I'd like to show you before we keep going. Is there any questions on this before I move forward?
Any questions? Just put your hand up. Seeing none, you're free to go. Jamie, keep going.
Like I said, I feel quite rusty now since. Okay. Does everyone see this kind of summary spreadsheet?
Yep.
Okay, so what I did here, and I hopefully, to me, this even explains it to myself, you know, try to, even some CAs who doesn't deal with PSABs too often, the PSAB statements could be kind of, what's the word, doesn't present probably user-friendly information is probably the best term. So I took the same set of statements and just kind of configure it to show you where you ended up for the year. So what I end up doing is I took out amortization expense, which is a non-cash item, and I net the fuel tax sales compared to budget. So we have municipal contributions for the year 123, which was less than budget. You have fuel of 36,000, almost in line with last year, but it is $6,000 higher from budget. Your hangar and access fees were lower in 2021, and that's because of timing and due to COVID, and more people probably were using their planes, resulting in less hangar and access fees compared to previous years, and leasing fees were up a little bit and higher than budget. So your total revenue is 216. Going through the expenditures, 250,931, which is very close to your budget of $260,000. most of it's in line. The only kind of drop is the timing of the insurance payment in the year, which was $6,000. Management fees were less than budget, but the previous year administration cost was $1,700. You had the last year's study in there, $43,835, so you did not require that this year. Because of the transfer of the property, there was property taxes in the year of $24,418, which was higher than budget or from the prior year. So the net deficit from operations was $33,968. If we add back the sale of land, you had a surplus for the year of $16,032. And then you used your reserve funds, which was your net financial assets of $15,310. So you end up transferring $31,342 to your deferred contributions for the year. The previous year, you draw down of $45,588, but this year you put it increased by $31,000 because of the use of the reserve funds and the sale of the land that was put towards your deferred contributions. So your deficit from operations is $33,968. It does include the use of the reserve funds, but when you apply that, as indicated, your deficit was $18,658 when you considered your use of your reserve funds from previous years. Does anyone have any questions on that spreadsheet?
I think we've got a question from Tracy. Jamie.
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. Maybe because I missed the last meeting whenever you initially went through the financial statements. The $15,310 that was previously presented in or as a reserve, that belonged to the city at 100%, correct, Jamie?
I'm not too sure exactly the allocation on that, but that came from a particular year about 10 years ago. So the allocation, I believe my understanding that was pertaining towards the city because all the surplus was resulted of the city's contribution in that year. But that would likely lead me into another part of my presentation, Tracy.
Okay, perfect. I'll wait then. Thank you.
So if we go back to the financial statements, so now we're kind of going to be moving forward from where we left off last time. If we go to the statement of net financial assets, the deficit for PSAP purposes was $40,864. If we add back the amortization of $25,554, we get an overall decrease in your net financial assets, which was $15,310, which was the use of your reserve funds that was set aside, and you can see the $15,310 be utilized, bringing the balance down to zero at the end of the year. From a cash flow point of view, your overall cash is up from one year to the other. If we look at three lines from the bottom, your increase in cash was $25,038 compared to $64,67 decrease from the previous year. And most of that increase was due to the sale of the land from the airport to South Glengarry for $50,000. The cash flow from operations was negative $24,960, but that was to draw down on the reserve funds for the year. But with that, overall closing cash balance is $72,811 compared to $47,000 from the previous year. Going through the tangible capital assets, there was no capital additions in 2021 except for the additions in the disposal of property. It was kind of in and out based on what was considered for cost and was documented in the legal documents. So it kind of nets out to zero, $2 in, $2 out. Total net book value, $3.5 million at cost, less accumulated amortization of 2.8, closing net book value of $675,922. when we look at your net book value compared to your total cost balance, we see that you have utilized 80% of your total tangible capital assets, leaving about 19% left over. So you have used, and everyone's aware that you utilize about 4/5 of your tangible capital assets useful life, and you're looking at replenishing those assets as your assets are getting older than previous years, and it's at 20% remaining useful life, which was the same from previous year. Going through the notes to the financial statements, if we go to the deferred contributions and receivable, when you look at the start of the year, the city had a balance of 78,105. South Glengarry, actually, there's a deficit here or a credit, which actually means it's the receivable that the township owes the airport commission of 21,966, closing with 56,139. We had a change in deferred contributions as indicated, 31,342. And majority of that went to the city of Cornwall of 29,246, which includes the 15,310 to leave you a balance of 107,351. The township of South Glengarry has still a closing balance of 19,870 with a closing balance of 87,481. And that split is based on factors of the 85-15 funding split plus the contributions from the city for the reserve fund. So that's the closing balance of what's owing or receivable and payable back to the city of Cornwall at the end of December 31st, 2021. And that would be the only note that would have changed from the original draft that we went through in July. As we go through the accumulated surplus on the next page, as indicated, the reserve fund was utilized at 15,310, leaving the tangible capital assets as your only accumulated surplus, which was invested in tangible capital assets of 675,922. We show the change in the investment in tangible capital assets in note 4, which is the amortization expense for the year. We indicated economic dependence, that the airport relies on the city of Cornwall in the South Glengarry contributions to operate accordingly, and without the funding, without these subsidies would jeopardize the financial viability of the organization. We indicate on the comparative figures that the comparative figures were subject to a review engagement and such are unaudited. Certain comparative figures have been restated to conform to the current year's presentation. So those are the financial statements. Kind of show you the financial statements, how it looked like from an operating point of view and what's presented under PSAP. Are there any questions or concerns on these draft financial statements?
Yeah, Martin, go ahead.
Thanks, Mr. Chair, and through you. Thanks, Jamie, for the presentation. I wasn't quite clear. A couple of slides back, you were saying, sorry, was a slide there that you're saying that the township still owes whatever it was, $18,000 or $20,000? Is that something that we haven't paid yet that we were supposed to pay? And are you saying the commission owes Cornwall 71,000?
Okay, yeah, I'll go through that again. Okay, so yes. So at the end of December 31st, the overall deferred contributions was 87,481. If everything kind of sees operations back at December 31st, 2021, the commission owes the city of Cornwall 107,351. So that represents funding that the city of Cornwall has contributed to the commission in previous years, but have not yet been utilized. Under South Glengarry, you have utilized a lot of your deferred contributions to the point where the South Glengarry owes the commission $19,870. The balance did decrease from one year to the next because of the surplus that you had from the sale of the land, but that amount is still owing from South Glengarry to the commission.
So this is money that was because I'm just, like at the beginning of every year there's a thing, a statement that comes out, the commission comes up with a budget, and like in the last few years, it was Cornwall paid 103 and we paid 25 or whatever it was. So are you saying we didn't make one of our payments, or we spent more than we were supposed to and we now owe more? I just want to be clear on why this is in there. And did Cornwall pay more than they were supposed to at some point, and now the commission has to pay them back 107?
Yes, it's more of the later part, and there was an accounting exercise that happened at the end or almost at the start of this calendar year, but pertaining to 2020, where there was a lot of deferred contributions set aside, but there was not a clear allocation of who contributed to those funds. So my understanding, the city of Cornwall went through that over the years, and then there was a presentation or a meeting with your administration staff, with the city's administration staff, indicated when there was surpluses, there was funds set aside under deferred contributions and allocated accordingly for the city in the South Glengarry. But when there were deficits happening, all the money was being applied against the city of Cornwall account. And the city of Cornwall, my understanding in going through those documents, realized that that wasn't correct, that the deficit should only be 85-15 and not 100%. So the reason what has happened is that more of the city of Cornwall funds were being used to offset previous deficits, where South Glengarry was not contributing their portion for those years of deficit. So that's why South Glengarry owes just under $20,000 still for your portion of those prior year deficits, where the city has money set aside and not yet utilized. Their share was brought down, but it was brought down too much. So now we have it that the city share should be 107, but South Glengarry has to pay their portion for those annual deficits that happened more in 2020, 2019, 2018, and that's why there's a receivable of $19,870.
So
I think I'm
Martin,
following. Yeah, sorry, Lyle.
to add on that, so Jamie, is that based on the 85-15 with the $10,000 maximum? What's that based on? Because on the original deal between the two of us, Schlumberg was to pay a maximum 85-15 to a maximum of 10,000. Now, in the last couple of years, South Glengarry has been paying the 15%, but we have on paper it's 10,000 maximum. I'm just kind of curious to know if that is based on the 15 or the 10,000.
That is based on the 15%, but it's more than just 1 year's worth that's showing that. I do have a calculation for how that is determined. So like I said, over the years, it just got kind of out of balance because the deficits that were incurring was being funded 100% by the city, and South Glengarry was not paying their share. So we had to be rebalanced, and that's what the amount is now. And as indicated, I believe the city administration had a meeting with your administration and kind of agreed to what the deferred contributions allocations are to be. So I'm going to just share my screen here. And these are the balances per year. And we were at 85-15, and there are some years where the city funded all of the deficits, and that was based on the accounting entries that was done by your previous accountant. So we got to the point where at the end of 2020, it was more 139% for the city and -39 for township. So the adjustment has been made where now it's 107,000 and -19. So because of these deficits, that was being 100% funded by the city, which was not technically correct.
Well, it may have been technically correct, but maybe we had at that point agreed to pay the 15. Because ours is 15% if you just look at the original agreement, but a maximum of 10,000. And I think in the last number of years, Lyle, is our chair said that we had agreed to go to the full 15, but we weren't supposed to pay any more than 10 in the original agreement.
Yep, Dean, yep, go ahead.
Thanks for chairing, Lyle, by the way. My tech has been running hot and cold this afternoon, so probably easier to keep you rolling along. But just a point, Jamie, did you not say that this money was kind of discussed by both South Glengarry and city administrators? That this number was kind of, that both parties kind of agreed on this number as a reference point?
I won't say that the closing numbers, but the opening numbers. And
So that, I guess my point is that 20,000, is that, does both South Glengarry and City of Cornwall have an agreement on that number? Or I guess my point is the commission can haggle over it all, but does our administration kind of agree with each other, or what's going on with that?
so
In your
I won't say there's a hard agreement, and maybe Tim or Tracy can maybe jump in, but the city came to us and asked for like a breakdown of all the annual surpluses from the last almost since the agreement started in 2003. And the city went through year by year and to say what they agreed with and what they did not agree with, and realized what was happening. And when there was years of deficit, the accountant and what was presented on the financial statements is that it was gone down on the city's share of the contributed contributions from the years where there were surpluses. So the reallocation was not correct between South Glengarry and the city. My understanding that the city administration met with the South Glengarry administration to say, here's the analysis that the city did, here's what deferred contribution should be for the city, and here's what South Glengarry's portion is. And there was kind of an agreement on that, because the only way the 2020 financial statements were released is until that kind of came into play, and it was kind of agreed upon that there was a misallocation being made and it was corrected. And that was kind of the new starting point going forward.
Okay. Then through you, Mr. Chair, to either administrator, because I can see where this is going to potentially become a sticking point. Do we owe the 20 or do we not owe the 20 based on the 15 versus the 10,000? So like, where are our respective administrations on this? Do we have a firm number? Is this a real number? Or is this a number that we're going to have to negotiate?
Tim, did you want to speak first?
Go ahead,
I don't
Tracy.
care who tries it, but I'm just curious.
So when the city of Cornwall was reviewing the financial statements, as Jamie indicated, what we saw was that South Glengarry was sharing in the surpluses, but not sharing in the deficits. And so we did an analysis and brought that to South Glengarry for them to take away and review. And from my understanding of our conversations, the December 31st, 2020 deferred contributions for the city of Cornwall and South Glengarry were reconciled as per note 2 in these financial statements. So a change was made, an adjustment was made to understand that in years where there was a deficit, that South Glengarry should be contributing to that deficit as well, and the city would not be paying that at 100%.
Okay, so that being said, Tim, or is South Glengarry kind of
Just,
in agreement with this, or?
Oh, you can just refresh me, Tracy, when we met, we decided on, well, I'm on the spot here, but I don't recall the deficit, but.
Well, here's where I guess I'm gonna go with this to move things along. I don't know if this is an administrative discussion that needs to take place, or if this is a city versus South Glengarry negotiation. I don't know how it works. But as I said, I can see where we're getting to this, well, it was 10 grand versus 15%. So I guess what I'm looking for, as wearing my counselor hat and my commissioner hat at the same time, can I get a firm number in terms of what we're really talking about versus what we may or may not be talking about? And I'm not looking for you, Jamie, necessarily. You've identified this number, but there seems to be an inconsistency versus what the city is thinking versus what South Glengarry is thinking. I would just like a real number, whatever that ends up being. Because I don't feel like haggling at the commission table as to what the number should be. That's one member, I admit, but that's kind of where I'm at.
What we can do is we could take it back to both Maureen and Tim to look at again. I believe we had some emails back and forth that South Glengarry did review our numbers and we're in agreement, but that was a couple of months ago when we're finalizing 2020. So I would like to look at that again to make sure that there's no outstanding questions on the reconciliation, and then we can let Jamie know before these financial statements are finalized.
Okay, fair enough. And the last thing,
Once they're finalized though, like once the financial statements are finalized, I would think that that means that there's been an agreement.
well, that's what I'm looking for. Like, I'm not interested in haggling here today or next meeting over that number, because quite frankly, I don't have enough expertise in accounting to be able to determine what the number should be. That's what I'm looking for my accountants to figure out. But I would like the commission as one member, and I guess as the standing chair, to have a real number, because I don't feel like haggling, and I think that my colleagues in South Glengarry feel the same way. I don't see any gain in debating about that until, and if there isn't an agreement, if the two respective administrations can't come to an agreement, then when we sit here, this is where our South Glengarry partners feel, this is where the City of Cornwall partners feel, and then we as a commission have to figure out what we're going to do moving forward. But haggling to me is a waste of time. Anyway, that's it, Lyle. I'm good. Thanks for chairing. I'm out.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, there's no discussion on this today. We have to bring it back to our council, and administration will look at this further. So at this point, it's just a review of the draft audit, and we'll receive it and bring it back to our collective councils and administration. So is there any other questions?
Martin had a question, and so Tracy.
Oh, sorry, Martin. Yeah. Jamie, go ahead, and then Martin.
Well, based on our audit and the review of the financial information, where we saw the surpluses being set aside by both municipalities, and in the years where there was deficits, we are comfortable with that based on the continuity of the schedule and what has been happening over the years. We're comfortable with the number that's presented, that because of prior year deficits, South Glengarry owes the commission from our audit point of view. Now, of course, it is a matter of what's everyone's different point of view, but we're comfortable with what's shown as a receivable from the South Glengarry to the commission of what's presented on these financial statements.
Okay. Martin, go ahead. Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. And then thanks, Dean, for that. And I'm with you. I don't think we want to haggle about it. I just, as a councillor and as a commission member, wanted to know how it was kind of figured out, what we're using. I do believe early in this last term, when I first joined the Airport Commission, that we had, I think, said that we were going to be at the 15% and throw the 10,000 out the window. But I don't know if that was official or not. So, I mean, I just want to make sure I know where the number's coming from, and I'm not here to haggle about it. So that was my only reason for bringing it up, just to kind of understand it in my mind.
Yep.
And I'm more
All
than
right.
happy.
So Jamie, is that the conclusion?
Well, I was just going to say, I'm more than happy to sit down with both administration and show the calculation that we have and what we've took from 2020 to 2021, and to say, here's how we came up with our calculations, and so everyone's is on the same page.
I think that makes total sense. So is there any other questions or comments in regards to this, Tracy?
I have a question going forward to 2021, Jamie. So the opening balances are, as we had discussed, and we'll discuss it again, but in 2021, when we share the surplus, how does the $15,310 from the reserve fit into that? Because that reserve was put there by the city, so we wouldn't share the 15,310. So I'm just wondering, because there's no longer a reserve at the airport commission, correct?
That's correct. And like I said, that's part of the 29,246 that was shown a change in deferred contributions over the city. So we really took it from the reserve funds to your share of the deferred contributions. And I can go through that calculation with you afterwards as well.
Perfect. Thank you, Jamie.
All right, so we're moving on then to the next portion of the meeting, which is, I just had the agenda open. So we'll go to the airport manager's update, Stephen Small.
Hello, everyone. So just to quickly go through my report here, I think you all should have it. I'll hit the highlights to save time. So our farmland is, our lease with Mr. Kretschmer has ended, the 5-year term. So this fall, our farmland can go out to tender, or whatever you want to call it, for offers to lease. We have about 100 acres to offer. So just looking, I guess, to move that.
What are you guys chewing on?
So, sorry.
Sorry, I have 2 dogs. My apologies.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I don't know if I need a motion or whatever, but I guess we should put something in the paper looking for offers to lease the 100 acres. I'll leave that to you.
Got Dean, you had your hand up?
Now I'm prepared to make a motion that we move forward with that. Something in the paper to look for potential leasees. Is that making sense? If I can get a seconder.
Yep,
I'll second.
yep, makes sense.
All right.
My internet's really bad today. I do apologize. So so you'll do the same thing kind of in regards to, I believe we did a RFP or in regards to the other lands. I guess it wasn't to lease it, it was for tiling it, but it's certainly in that kind of a line, put out requests for proposals, I guess, and see what we get.
Okay, yeah, so I'll find someone in the township office there who's knowledgeable on that, and I'll work with them to get that, and I'll get you a draft for the commission to review the next meeting. What else do we have?
Yeah. Dean?
Just a little housekeeping, Lyle. I don't know if we need Jamie online any longer. Are we good to let him off the hook?
Yeah, I was just sitting here patiently till there was a good break in the meeting, but if you don't need me, I'll be more than happy to excuse
Well,
myself.
I'll leave that to the chair's good judgment, but I think based on our agenda, you're free if there's somebody else who's want to hold you to it, but.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay, thank you very much. And then, like I said before, thanks to Michael Hudson and Crystal and Stephen for their assistance going through this audit. The first time audits are not easy, so that's why it's taken longer than we expected, but we'll definitely get to the end of it. So, but thanks very much for today.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay, so I'll continue. Can everybody hear me all right?
Yep.
The land lease, Dad's clearing, brush hogging the whole airport property outside the ditches once again, as he's been doing for many years at no charge. He incurred a cost this week because he put the tractor in the ditch and had to call a wrecker to get him out. So, the runway lighting. So we had a failure of our aircraft radio controlled system. So the system that allows the pilots to turn the lights on at night from the airplane has failed. I've got an estimate from Latrey Electric to replace it, which I can cover in my normal budget because we allocate for electrical problems and stuff, and I believe we have enough to cover it, so that won't be an extra cost. Right now, I'm just leaving the lights on at night until that's repaired. Should be done shortly. Let's see, construction on Hangar 20 has begun. And pretty much everything else stays the same. Our fuel is holding its own. Fuel sales are holding their own. We're on target to be pretty much on the same as last year. And fuel costs are starting to drop. So we're seeing a little more markup. I haven't reduced the price yet, but I will in the near future. I think that's about it for me. If anybody has any questions or.
Quick question, Crystal, have we lost Lyle?
Yeah, I think he might be, Michelle, can you let him in? He's in the attendee group. I can see him in there. He got disconnected.
Well, if the commission's
Yeah.
okay, I guess I'll carry the ball. Oh, there he is. He's good. Okay, Lyle, if you're on, I'll let you keep going. If not, I'll.
Yeah, no, sorry about that. My internet home here just was really bad and it was buffering really bad. Are there any other questions for the manager from his report? None, seeing none. I only see one. I only see Dean right now. So my apologies. Okay.
You want me to keep
All right,
carrying things
so-
moving forward? You want me to? Keep,
Yeah, please do.
All right,
Yeah,
well,
go
it's
ahead.
kind of
I'm hot mess today.
revolving chairs. I guess I'm in South Glengarry too. Maybe the internet out here is a little weird today, but all right. So moving forward through agenda, let's give me a second to organize. So I guess that being said, Stephen, you're off the hook. Are there any other questions for Stephen? Okay, seeing none, I guess we're good. We've done our financial statements under new business. So I guess we're moving to the Ratty grant announcement. Tim, are you gonna take
Through
that?
you, Dean, I'll take that one.
Okay,
So we don't have to be silent or quiet anymore. So a week ago, Tuesday, I went up to the Kingston Regional Airport with Mayor Warden and councillors McDonnell and Lang to the announcement, which was hosted by the airport there, which is owned by the city of Kingston, and MP Garrettson, along with staff there. So the announcement was finally made, and we have approaching $1.2 million as an airport commission. Of note, why I think it's good news, but we should be proud as an area that, you know, Kingston, it's a fairly big regional airport. Air Canada was going out of there to Toronto at one point, that they got 1.4 million. So, you know, to think we got a good chunk of change out of the 2.8 million, certainly a positive. Since that time, we've known about this for months, but of course we had to keep quiet until the announcement was made as a commission. Since that time, though, we have a contribution, we have put a contribution agreement in place, so it's attached. That's signed by Eugene and then Lyle as the vice chair. So we can start charging against it and spending money. So the agreement's there, signed, sealed, and delivered, and it's part of your package. The commission will remember a number of months ago also that we knew that this was coming, so we put together a committee to consider what we might want to do, especially when we could step on the gas right now, and we really need to. You will note that the contribution agreement says March 31st, 2023, but we're confident in that there have been a number of delays in the announcement, and also with construction delays and supply chain issues. We won't be the only ones asking for an extension to get things completed if required. So I know that the committee that was set up with Councillor Lang, Councillor Hollingsworth, and Airport Manager Small have met once, and so we're ready to, you know, for lack of a better expression, fly or hit the tarmac or whatever you want. Let's get rolling. So maybe I'll turn it over to you, Martin. I know that the subcommittee had discussed that you were going to speak on their behalf today, and then get some input from everybody, and we'll go from there.
Okay,
Thanks,
so
Tim.
we did meet yesterday. We had a few questions, some things, and I'll be quite candid. I couldn't remember all the provisions in the agreement when we met yesterday. So we had a few things that we thought we needed to ask the commission. Martin, I know you've been kind enough to kind of be prepared to run with the ball on this one, so I'm gonna give you the floor if that's all good with the commission. Any questions? Looks like we're good. Go ahead, Martin.
Thanks, Dean. Yeah, and it was a short meeting because, as Dean has said, that we had almost as many questions as answers for our meeting. The legal agreement was a big part of that, and we now have it. So I don't know if everybody's had time to read it or not. I went through it as kind of quickly as I could, just having received it today. So our questions were just, you know, what room we had in that agreement, to what time frame, like when could we start now? And so that's been answered. We can start now. And I think Tim has mentioned that they do have a date of the end of March next year, but there also is something written in that says that we have a year from from the agreement. So to me, the agreement's just being done now. I think so I'm sure there is going to be some wiggle room there, but at the same time, I don't think we want to stall too much. So I think the committee is ready to meet again fairly soon and get pushing forward. I know the other thing, and I talked to Mr. Mills already about it, is the committee was looking to talk to Christian about some of the things that we'd put in there, and you know, he has the airport expertise, and just to consult with him because he was one of the ones that helped write it. And I think Mr. Mills is organizing that as we speak. So that was kind of the extent of what we did. I don't know if you want to add anything, Dean, or if Steve wants to add anything, but we'd like to get rolling as soon as possible. And now we have some of the answers we needed.
Just to add, and I think Stephen may agree that just talking, as we mentioned to Christian, about some of the things that we added and where we can go based on the framework of the agreement probably will help us put together a few concrete suggestions. That's pretty much it, Martin. I kind of agree with the gist of what you said. Stephen, feel compelled to add anything, or are we good?
No, I think you've covered it all, and yeah, then we can move forward now and get things going.
Excellent. Any questions either on the subcommittee work or on the agreement itself? Any comment, question, anything to that effect?
Go
I
ahead.
do have
Go ahead.
I do have a comment. I do want to thank administration for taking the initiative to apply for this grant. It certainly has been fruitful for us, and it certainly credit is owed to them for getting the ball rolling, and certainly the committee for you know, listening to them and getting behind it. So certainly it's fallen into place nice, and I am looking forward to seeing some results for the airport.
Excellent.
And if I can just add, I spoke to Christian today, Christian Perot from Explorer Solutions, and we have a tentative meeting on Friday morning to discuss. So if someone from the city would like to join, let me know. It's at 9 o'clock, but Martin is going to be on with me on behalf of the township. So I know the timing is not great for those of you that with work schedules and everything, but we'll certainly take good notes and report back, and maybe have Christian to a future meeting if that works. The other thing I just want to mention in terms of expertise is when we were in Kingston last week and talking to the Kingston Airport, they're doing they're working on the funding they got was more on promote the airport and advertising and trying to get traffic in there and out of there. And they are working with Jason and someone else from Explorer Solutions as well. So when the bigger guys are working with them, we know that. So we want to thank Christian on Friday too, because he's the one who assisted us with the application and yeah, thanks to everybody because it's finally here. So.
Awesome. Unfortunately, in my case, I have to mold young minds, so I'm out. I don't know if Justin, I'll leave it to you if you want to contact Tim or whatever the case may be, but either way, gentlemen, I'm confident you'll get back to us and let us know if there's anything we need to know. Are there any more comments with regards to that grant? Anything, any provisions, commentary? Okay, that being said, our next item is correspondence. Do we have any correspondence that's noteworthy? Not seeing anything. I guess we're pretty much at our next meeting, October 5th, unless anybody has any issue with that. Any comment on that? Looks like we're good. That being said, can I get a motion to adjourn, ladies and gentlemen? Sam, Justin, second, all in favor?
In favor.
So we're good. Excellent. I got enough votes. We're good. Thanks for your patience, folks, with my tech. Lyle, good job carrying on as best you could. That being said, have a great month, and we'll see you in about 4 weeks.
Yes.
All right.
Thanks.
Adios.
Everybody.
Everyone. See you, everyone.